Hi everyone, this is JD, CEO of Sight for White and White Sense. It's been brought to my attention that some of you have been wondering about who I am and where I've come from, so I thought I'd take a little bit of time today to explain just that. My name, JD, is short for James Danny, and I'm originally from St. Lucia in the Caribbean. I grew up in London. For those of you that know London, I'm from Paddington. And one of the key things that has led me to working for the communities that have two amazing boys, 5 and 7 currently. And for me, I think them growing up in a community that is well supported and looked after is key for me. So everything that I do, I work hard to facilitate a better community for my boys to grow up in. That's why I've worked in the third sector for different charities for the past 10 years and am completely passionate and privileged to do so. I think the Isle of Wight has an amazing community and it's so full of creativity and talent, and it's inspiring to me. So I want to work hard and support that community that I am also a part of now. So that's a little bit about me. I look forward to speaking to you all at some point, hopefully seeing you at our coffee mornings and mix and mingle groups. And if you have any questions for me there, I'm more than happy to answer them. I look forward to meeting more of you as the weeks and the months go by. And I hope we can enjoy a hot drink together soon.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Sue. Isle of Wight photographer sails into national spotlight. 3 photographs taken in Cowes by Isle of Wight photographer Clive Blount have gone on display at a national maritime exhibition. The images captured during this summer's prestigious Richard Mill Cup have been selected for inclusion in the National Historic Ships Photography Exhibition, currently on show at Chatham Historic Dockyard in Kent. The annual exhibition, curated by National Historic Ships UK, celebrates the very best in maritime photography from across the country, showcasing the ships, people and coastal settings that make up the UK's historic maritime landscape. Clive's selected photographs focus on the dramatic elegance of the classic sailing yachts that competed in the Richard Mill Cup as they passed through the Solent, with Cowes once again providing a stunning backdrop to the international regatta. The Richard Mill Cup has fast become one of the highlights of the Cowes sailing calendar, attracting elite historic yachts from across Europe and beyond. The selection of Clive's images not only reflects his growing profile as a maritime photographer, but also reinforces Cowes' global reputation as a centre for classic yachting. Islanders can view Clive's images and the rest of the exhibition online via the National Historic Ships UK website.
Isle of Wight marks 999 Day with flag raising ceremony. From the Isle of Wight Radio, read by Lee. The Isle of Wight has paid tribute to the dedication and sacrifice of emergency service workers at a special ceremony outside County Hall, Newport, on Tuesday, the 9th of September. Marking National Emergency Services Day, or 999 Day, the event brought together civic leaders, councillors and representatives from the island's police, fire, ambulance, NHS and search and rescue services. At 9 a.m, the 999 Day flag was raised by Andrew Woodford of the Isle of Wight Coast Guard, followed by a 2-minute silence in memory of those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Councillor Ian Dorr, chairman of the Isle of Wight Council, led the ceremony, thanking all emergency personnel for their courage and commitment. He said, "Their work often goes unseen, but it is never unappreciated. This flag is a symbol of our respect and our enduring thanks." The ceremony was attended by a wide range of dignitaries and representatives, including Mrs. Caroline Pill, DL, Isle of Wight Lieutenancy, High Sheriff Jacqueline Gozzard, Chief Inspector Andy MacDonald, Hampshire and Wight Constabulary, Louise Walker, Isle of Wight NHS Trust and Ambulance Service, Sean Harrison, Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service, members of Cowes, RNLI, Wight SAR and the SS Independent Lifeboat. Also Also present were MP West Representative Max Nicol, Council Vice Chair Councillor Vanessa Churchman, and Isle of Wight Council Chief Executive Wendy Pereira. Emergency Services Day is held every year across the UK to honour the 2 million people who serve in the NHS, police, fire, ambulance and search and rescue services, as well as the volunteers who support them.
Rural crime in focus as farmers meet police commissioner from Isle of Wight Radio. Wildlife poaching, fly tipping and antisocial behaviour on rural roads and paths were among the concerns raised at a meeting between farmers, gamekeepers and Hampshire's Police and Crime Commissioner Donna Jones. The discussion, held at the Southwick Estate near Fareham, highlighted issues like speeding, motorbikes and trail bikes being ridden dangerously by masked youths, problems that continue to affect countryside communities. Rural crime is one of Donna Jones's top policing priorities, with the launch of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary's dedicated Country Watch Rural Crime Task Force earlier this year. She said around 75% of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight is rural, and crimes like poaching, theft of farm equipment and intimidation are unfortunately happening all too often. I'm focused on making our countryside a safer place. To the criminal gangs operating across our rural communities, I say this: the police are coming after you. Inspector Kath MacDonald, who leads the task force, told the meeting that officers are already seeing results. Since its launch, more than £150,000 worth of stolen property has been recovered, thanks to intelligence and a proactive approach. The unit is now using drones, mobile ANPR cameras and daily patrols in hotspot areas to tackle offenders. Inspector MacDonald urged islanders to continue reporting all incidents, no matter how small, as they can help build a wider picture of organised criminal activity. Southwick Estate owner Mark said poaching and fly tipping remain the biggest challenges facing landowners. The cost of cleaning up is rising each year, and with an early harvest this year, poaching has started even earlier. We're on course to see a record number of incidents. The Commissioner said continued cooperation between police and local communities is absolutely essential to tackling rural crime across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. Anyone with information is urged to contact police on 101. In an emergency, always dial 999.
Hello, this is an article from the Isle of Wight Radio, read by Sue. Isle of Wight NHS Trust ranks 73rd in new National Hospital League table. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust has been ranked 73rd in newly published NHS tables that assesses performances and finances across England's acute hospital trusts. The data set was published on Tuesday as part of Health Secretary Wes Streeting's NHS reformation plans. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust ranks 73rd in the country for acute hospital trusts, with a score of 2.42, some way off top-performing Moorfields Eye Hospital NHS Foundation Trust, which scored 1.39. Bottom of the rankings, in 134th position, was Queen Elizabeth Hospital in King's Lynn, which scored 3.35. The rankings score NHS trusts on 7 different areas, including waiting times for operations, cancer treatment, time spent in A&E, and ambulance response times. Their finances are also assessed, and it is possible that a hospital rated highly for clinical care will be marked down if they are running up a larger than expected deficit. They are then sorted into 4 categories, which the government is calling segments, the first of which reflecting the best overall performers and the 4th listing the worst. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust has been placed in segment 3. Trusts that are experiencing financial difficulties cannot be ranked higher than segment 3, even if they are assessed to have a good standard of care.
Island rowers make waves at South Coast Regatta in Plymouth. From the Island Echo, read by Lee. Ryde, Newport and Shanklin Sandown clubs brought home titles, medals and strong performances from this year's South Coast Rowing Championships in Plymouth. Historic championship win for Newport Rowing Club. Newport Rowing Club made history on Saturday as a juniors men's 4 secured the club's first ever South Coast Championship title. The H&D winning crew of Boris Hare, Connor Garner, Jake Garner, Nathaniel Hamilton, and Cox Mariana Hare surged into an early lead in the 1500-metre championship race despite a determined challenge from Shoreham and Southampton. The Newport boys dug deep to win by a canvas, a landmark moment for the club. Elsewhere, the Masters 44 of Julie Clark, Chris Clark, Ed Hopper and Harry Hare, coxed by Helen Hopper, rode strongly to finish fourth in their final. The women's novice four, Flora Lockheed, Julia Coulson, Grace Garner and Hannah Turbeville, coxed by Mariana Hare, and the junior open crew of Freddie Hollis, Max Gasper, Theo Cousianus and Riv Soiville, coxed by Fiona Brooks, both missed out on progression from their heats, but showed promise for the future. Silverware and strong finishes for Ryde Rowing Club. Whitelink-sponsored Ryde Rowing Club fielded 10 crews across 2 days of competition, claiming 1 victory, a string of podiums, and 2 hard-fought championship final places. Charlie Watts was Friday's standout performer, winning the J16 single sculls final after finishing second in his heat. Stella Baisley also competed in the novice sculls, finishing 5th. 2 J18 fours raced on Friday. The men's 4, Ben Robotham, Joe Bird, Yogi Ashworth, Isaac Gibson and Cox Harry Watts finished 4th in their final, while the women's 4, Eva Gordon, Dema Cranham Eade, Alexis Owen and Emily Kellerman, Cox May Reid, came 6th. In Saturday's championship events, the women's junior 4 of Abby Locke, Fiona Owen, Alexis Owen and Emily Kellerman, Cox Ruby Reid, missed out on gold by just 3 feet, finishing second in the closest race of the day. The men's junior senior 4, Charlie Watts, Will Hall, Joe Roberts and Paddy Kearney, Cox May Reid, finished 4th. 4 open crews also competed. Women's senior 4, 3rd, men's junior senior 4, 3rd, men's novice 4, 2nd, and women's novice 4, 5th in heat. Double championship glory for Shanklin and Sandown. Shanklin Sandown Rowing Club capped off their season with 2 South Coast Championship wins and a string of podium finishes in Plymouth. The club's J14 quads were in dominant form. The girls' quad, Olivia Mumberson, Tess Jones, Martha Egerton, Isla Morant, and the Cox Esme Waters claimed victory for the 4th consecutive year. The boys' quad, Alex Collier, Connie Batley-Smith, Josh Batchelor, Digby Ridgewell, Cox Esme Waters delivered the biggest margin of the regatta, storming to gold by over 100 metres. In the J14 singles, Connie Batley-Smith and Digby Ridgewell secured 2nd place, with Josh Batchelor finishing 3rd. Esme Waters added a novice ladies' sculls silver to her haul. The club entered 16 crews across the weekend, with both the men's and women's 4s just missing out on finals after placing 3rd in their respective heats. Shanklin will now take a short break before preparations begin for the head race season.
Previously troubled Blackwater Mill care home sold to family-run group with plans to reopen. From the Island Echo. Blackwater Mill, a former care home near Newport that was shut down following serious failings in care standards, has been sold to a family-run group who have plans to reopen the site. Blackwater Mill was for many years one of the largest care homes on the island, registered for 60 residents with ensuite bedrooms across 3 floors, alongside lounges, a dining room and conservatory. Set in more than 3 acres of grounds, the property also featured mature gardens and a pond that was once much enjoyed by those living there. The home was closed after a series of damning inspection reports highlighting poor standards of care, serious management failings and safeguarding concerns. These negative findings ultimately led to the home losing its registration and residents being moved elsewhere. The site has since stood empty and has been the subject of repeated public attention and scrutiny. Following a confidential sales process, the property has now been purchased by a subsidiary of English Oak Care Homes, which is a family-run group with 4 care homes in Hampshire. The company says it will fully refurbish and modernise the building with the aim of reopening it as a care facility for Isle of Wight residents. Stephen Geach, chairman of English Oak Care Homes, said Blackwater Mill is a beautiful site with enormous potential. We look forward to breathing new life into the building and creating a warm and welcoming environment for residents and staff. English Oak is a progressive family-run business, and the addition of this care home to our company demonstrates our desire to grow the business and improve elderly care provision. Charles Phillips, Director of Care and Christie & Co, has said, having sold Blackwater Mill to the outgoing owner in 2008, I was delighted to be asked to assist them with a sale. We undertook a comprehensive marketing campaign and were very pleased to have completed the sale to English Oak. We are very confident that with their excellent knowledge of the local care market, they will be extremely successful. We look forward to visiting the home once all the work has been completed. The sale of this property demonstrates that there is great demand for both trading and closed care homes throughout the south. The property was sold for an undisclosed price.
Good morning. My name's Val Rutherford Jackson. There's no society news this week.
And my name is Jerry Thornton.
Inquests opened into helicopter deaths. Inquests have been opened into the deaths of 3 people killed in a helicopter crash last month. 3 of the 4 passengers on board the Adventure 001 helicopter died at the scene of the crash on the A3020 Shanklin Road near Whitley Bank at around 9:20 a.m. on August the 25th. The helicopter, which had taken off from the Isle of Wight airport, was on a flying lesson. Despite the efforts of paramedics, 3 people could not be saved. Inquests were opened on Monday at the Isle of Wight Coroner's Court for the 3 victims: Simon Hewitt, 54, from Sutton, a freelance consultant; Justina Kozovka, 52, from Banbury, a horse riding instructor; and Wojtek Kowalkowski, 49, from Banbury, a lorry driver. Pathologist Dr. Megan Jenkins gave the causes of death as multiple injuries following post-mortems. A 4th passenger, a man in his 30s, was airlifted to University Hospital Southampton. He was reported to be in a stable condition.
Girls kick seagull to death. An investigation has been launched after a seagull was kicked to death by 2 girls at a park. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary received reports of the incident at Church Lytton in Newport on Sunday, August the 31st. It is understood that a seagull was kicked by 2 girls between 2 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. A police spokesman said that despite efforts, the seagull later died from its injuries. Officers are investigating the incident and inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances surrounding it. Inspector Joe Nelson described the act as both shocking and saddening, acknowledging the upset it has caused within the local community and beyond. She said, "Our officers are carrying out inquiries as they attempt to identify those who were involved. If you know those responsible, witnessed anything of the incident, or have any footage which may assist us in our investigation, please contact us on 101 and quote incident number 442 504 04080.
Ireland to lose 2 fire stations and specialist engine by Oliver Dyer. 2 fire stations will close for good and the island will be stripped of one of its aerial ladder platform ALP appliances, it has been confirmed. A decision has been rubber-stamped by Chief Fire Officer from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Services, Neil Odin. It follows a public consultation and meeting of the Fire Authority on August the 29th. Cuts will see Yarmouth Fire Station closed and merged with Freshwater, where staff and 2 fire engines will be based. This would save the service £99,000, excluding non-staff cost savings over the 25 and 26 and 26 to 27, HRWFRS said. This approach has been used for the past 2 years due to recruitment and retention challenges in Yarmouth and the proximity of the stations, a spokesperson said. Meanwhile, operation responses from Bembridge Fire Station will cease, saving the service £135,000, excluding non-staff cost savings. HIWFRS said there has been no response from Bembridge since 2020 due to lack of available on-call firefighters, and Ryde Fire Station has received investment to increase staffing to a full-time crew. In a bid to save £1 million, an ALP will be removed, reducing the number on the Isle of Wight to just 1. ALPs are specialised fire trucks equipped with large extendable ladders or platforms that can reach high places. The service said there are 3 others available on the mainland. Across the region, 16 firefighter posts and 5 operational managers will also be cut. Neil said this was a decision that no chief fire officer wants to make, but our funding position leaves us no choice. He said there have been 2 decades of underinvestment in the fire and rescue service nationally, while at the same time we have seen demand increasing, and this is set to continue with a further budget shortfall projected for next year and unknowns around factors such as the outcome of the Fair Funding Review, the local government finance settlement, council tax flexibilities, regulatory changes, inflation and interest rates. He added, "We have taken every step we can to protect the front line as far as possible." He is asking politicians to take up the case, and he has written to the government asking them to act now.
Rescue boat launched to help stricken vessel. 2 Whitelink vehicle ferries went to the aid of a stricken boat and crew on the Solent. The incident happened just before 6 p.m. on the approach to Fishbourne on Sunday. 2 of the ferries stopped at sea to help a stranded boat. Ferry staff on board both ferries subsequently launched rescue boats to assist. An eyewitness on Victoria of Wight said the rescue boat towed the stricken vessel into shore. The ferry then continued its journey into Fishbourne and the rescued boat rejoined the car ferry.
Ferry fight will continue despite change of minister in a reshuffle by Alex Cooper. The island's MPs have said a change in minister does not change their push to solve the island ferry problems. Minister of Maritime Mike Kane has been replaced with Keir Mather. Mr Kane met with Richard Quigley, MP for Isle of Wight West, Joe Robertson, MP for East, and leader of the Isle of Wight Council, Phil Jordan, in April for a round-table event in Cowes. But he lost his position in the cabinet reshuffle. Mr Quigley said, "I have spent the last year building a relationship directly with the Secretary of State for Transport, Heidi Alexander. I have contacted her over the weekend and she remains committed to helping find a solution to cross-Solent transport. So Mike Kane moving out and Keir Mather moving in doesn't change that. As all islanders know, cross-Solent transport is a huge issue and one that myself and Joe Robertson continue work together on. Opposition MP Mr Robertson welcomed the opportunity to engage with the new minister, but stipulated he must have a proper sense of urgency rather than drift, saying Mr Mather's predecessor did not advance the work promised. Mr Robertson said the work with the DFT, including relevant ministers, will continue. The various ministerial work streams will not cease just because the minister changes. Despite a positive meeting in Cowes in April, Mike Cain has not advanced the work promised to sort our expensive, unreliable ferries. That is despite the Chief Executive of the Isle of Wight Council writing on behalf of me, Richard Quigley, and Phil Jordan, and my own separate correspondences and questions in the House of Commons. I welcome the opportunity to engage with the new Minister for Maritime and pick up where we left off with Mike Cain, but his must be with a proper sense of urgency rather than drift on the part of the government.
Owner unveils exciting plans for a beloved cafe. The new owner of a popular cafe plans to invest lots of money into his new venture, completely rebuilding the venue. It's got to be right, and it's going to be right, said Paul Rowling, known for the bandstand in Sandown, who is set to take on Blueberry's Cafe on the cliff top off Sandown Road in Shanklin. Paul has unveiled his vision and plans for his beloved cafe, which has been run by Claire and Liam Eade for the last 8.5 years. The pair, who attribute hard work, fantastic local support and fantastic staff to their success, have decided to wave goodbye to the venue to devote more time to their family. We started off as a small family-run cafe and it just grew into something unimaginable, said Claire. It got bigger every year, and we got to a point where we said we couldn't go any bigger because the kitchen couldn't cope, said Liam, who settled on 96 covers. There are a lot of memories here, and we're sad to see it go, but it's the right time to say goodbye. We're very happy to see it go to another family, rather than a chain that will rip the money out of it. The trio have kept in touch from day one, and all three agree it feels right. Paul said, my son, who was the chef at the bandstand, is going to run the kitchen side, and my close family are going to run the front of house. I'm going to invest a lot of money into this, and it's not going to go wrong. I've got a big task to carry it on the way Claire and Liam did, but as they both said, the place needs bringing up to date. It's going to be roughly the same size, but open plan, with a much bigger kitchen. The menu will be all our own. While Claire and Liam may be passing the Blueberries baton on to Paul, they do have another exciting venture in the pipeline. We're going to launch a coffee and cake trailer, said Claire. It'll be the same service, same sweet treats, but on a smaller scale, said Liam. It'll be almost like a pop-up, and we're calling it the Cake Away Cart. Keep following our Facebook page and expect more information in November.
Falling boulder to blame for the latest road closure. A boulder falling from a rock mass is to blame for another road closure in Ventnor, just days after a protest in town over the length of time it has taken to open the closed roads. Bonchurch Chute, which runs through the village and connects to Leeson Road, has been closed in both directions in the interest of public safety, said Island Roads. Following an initial assessment, the Highway Service has confirmed there is a risk of further rockfall and concerns surrounding the increasing size of trees above. A spokesperson for Island Road said, a short section of Bonchurch Chute has been temporarily closed in the interest of public safety after a sizable boulder fell from a rock mass onto the footway below earlier this week. Our initial assessment has found there is a risk of further rockfalls. We are also concerned at the increasing size of the trees above. They are adding weight to the rock mass and sending root growth into the rock strata. We will be working with the responsible landowner and the Isle of Wight Council to resolve the situation as quickly as possible. Ventnor Roads campaigner Dave Goocock, who led the protest march, has expressed concerns.
Flats plan for veterans gets a go-ahead. 4 rental flats specifically for veterans will be built on vacant land in Newport. Planners has given the go-ahead for an application for 4 one-bedroom flats on land between 36 and 42 New Street, submitted by County Hall's community-led housing officer John Prickett. The proposed homes are classed as social, affordable or intermediate rent housing, according to the council's application form. Until November, the New Street site was used as a council-owned non-public car park. Mr Prickett's application form said these are to be affordable rented homes, especially for veterans. Each will have access from the ground level with no shared internal space. Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council, the NCCC, supported the proposal. County Hall's decision report said the development would help to meet a demand for affordable veteran housing. This is a brownfield site located in a residential area close to Newport Town Centre. The development would be funded by the Armed Forces Covenant Fund Trust through their Capital Projects programme, and the flats would be owned and the council and managed through Southern Housing.
Councillor says estate is behind the flooding damage, by Rufus Pickles. An Isle of Wight councillor says his business keeps flooding due to new housing estate, but the developer says it is not aware of any issues. I just wanted to throw the towel in, Councillor Matthew Price, who owns Price's Garage in Newport, said after his business was hit yet again by flash flooding after heavy rainfall on August the 29th. He said the Pan Meadows Housing Estates flood mitigation scheme is not working properly, and the Pan Stream Bridge is entirely inadequate, believing they are behind the flooding which is causing endless damage. Barratt Homes, the developer that built Pan Meadows, has said it is not aware of any issues with its drainage system. Councillor Price, a Fairley and Whippingham's Conservative representative, arrived at his completely flooded premises and stood there thinking, I don't know if I can carry on, really. Price's Garage, which has been operating for decades, has flooded multiple times since 2013, resulting in a loss of earnings, insurance costs trebled, and flood cover no longer available. Councillor Price has spoken out in part to thank his employees for getting the garage back up and running, but he also wanted to highlight what he believes is the flooding's cause. There's no doubt at all that it is related to that housing estate, because all of the water attenuation ponds that are empty, and they were empty on the days we were flooded, when I stood in a foot of water. Every time we get substantial rain, unless the drainage system or the flood mitigation system from Pan Meadows is made to work, we're just going to continue to get flooded. My question to the developer is, why are those ponds empty? A spokesperson for Barratt, David Wilson Holmes, said, We recognise how difficult flooding can be. The drainage system at Bluebell Meadows and St George's Gate was designed with Southern Water approved by the Isle of Wight Council and the works by holding back rainwater during storms before releasing it safely into local streams. We are not aware of any issues and will continue working with Southern Water and the Council to ensure it operates as intended. An Isle of Wight Council spokesman said, We are sorry to hear of these types of situations and do not underestimate the significant impacts that flooding causes. We are working with the affected party, Barratt Homes, and other stakeholders to investigate the implemented systems for managing surface water and to ascertain if they are working as they should. The outcome will shape any next steps and the provider responsible for completing any works.
Strict school rules caused a pupil to wet themselves. Draconian rules at a secondary school led to a pupil wetting themselves, parents have claimed. Further concerns about Cowes Enterprise College have emerged after the county press revealed its strict toilet policy last week. In light of the story, some parents have come forward, comparing the school to a prison or young offenders institution. To hurry pupils to lessons, parents have said that music is played in corridors. They claim if students do not make it to the class by the time the song is finished, they face detention. One parent said, "My daughter said it feels like they are playing Squid Game." Parents say another of the rules involves students being lined up with one foot on either side of a yellow line and then escorted to tutor group. As previously reported, CEC encourages students to only use the loo at break and lunch times. During classes, the toilets remain locked with a shutter pulled down. Pupils are allowed to go to the loo during lessons, but only if they have a toilet pass. If not, they have to let their teacher know, who will then call a high profile to escort them. Commenting on the County Press's Facebook page, one parent said, "My son is in Year 11 and came home and said he felt horrendous at the poor brand new Year 7 that wet themselves because a teacher called for a toilet escort and no one turned up in time." Meanwhile, talking about a student on her period, one parent said, "I've been told of one poor girl who was refused toilet access today and leaked onto her chair. Her classmates saw it too, that poor girl. They have been pushing down morale and grades will follow." Concerns were also raised over lengthy toilet queues at lunchtimes. Another parent said, "My child has told me that the queues for the toilets at break and lunchtime are so long, and that coupled with the changes they have made to where his year are allowed to get their lunch from, which we were not told about, you have to choose between going to the loo or buying lunch, if you are going to be able to get back to class on time." Parents have called for the school to review its policies, saying the measures are causing anxiety for students.
Arrests made after assaults. 2 men were arrested following a violent incident linked to police being called to properties in Shanklin and Brading. Officers responded to a 5:54 a.m. report of an altercation between 2 men at an address on Victoria Avenue in Shanklin on Saturday. On arrival, a man was found with facial injuries. Officers later found a man at an address in High Street in Brading with a neck injury. Both men were taken by ambulance to St Mary's Hospital, Newport. A Ryde man, aged 36, was later arrested on suspicion of inflicting grievous bodily harm, GBH, with intent and aggravated burglary. Police bailed him until today, Friday, and a 40-year-old man from Shanklin, who remains in hospital, was also arrested on suspicion of GBH with intent. A woman at a Brading High Street address told the county press, "At around 5:45 a.m, a man in his 30s came to our door in a panic and he was injured. There was a lot of blood on the pavement. We let him in and called the ambulance." Both properties in Shanklin and Brading were cordoned off by the police, with officers at each location preserving the scenes for several hours.
Protest over refusal to allow King's Path access. A protest rally hitting out at English Heritage's refusal to allow the King Charles III English Coast Path through the Osborne House estate took place on Saturday. The Isle of Wight Ramblers held the first of a series of rallies outside the entrance to the site, protesting against the estate's refusal to allow the path through its land, with the Ramblers holding an expectation that a voluntary agreement would allow access. The Ramblers have hit out at English heritage, suggesting it is wrong for a new national trail to be named after the King, but not be permitted to pass through a former royal estate gifted to the nation by Edward VII in 1902. David Howarth, former chair of the group, said, "The new trail is a wonderful gift to the island, and we want to showcase the whole of our coast. We certainly do not want to see tourists arriving at East Cowes faced with a 2-mile diversion along the road with no sea views." A 300-metre link is needed between Norris Wood and Barton Wood to join the trail. A provisional agreement was drawn up in 2022 between English Heritage and Natural England, which was subsequently withdrawn.
Get the Rocks Off Our Roads by John Moreno. The message from Ventnor residents on Saturday's protest march in the town cut through loud and clear to County Hall. Get the rocks off our roads now. More than 150, many holding protest placards and a few in fancy dress, made their feelings known about the length of time it is taking the Isle of Wight Council to clear the Ventnor roads blocked by rockfalls. Aptly, the peaceful but vocal march started from Belgrave Road, blocked by a major rockfall on March the 7th at its junction with Church Street. Led by Ventnor Road's campaigner Dave Grucock, dressed as a clown to symbolise the local authorities' actions and attitude towards the speedy removal of rocks from the town's roads. Dave, representing Keep Ventnor Moving, said, "We will continue to exist until every road is open in Ventnor. Why does it take so long to clear a road of rocks? We hear all the legal and health and safety arguments thrown at us, but we don't accept it takes 2 years to clear and reopen a road, such as Grove Road and Bath Road. I could understand the council taking a month to 6 weeks to remove the rocks from Belgrave Road, but 7 months and counting is totally ridiculous." He also pointed out it took Leeson Road a year, Gills Cliff Road 7 months, and Undercliff Drive yet to reopen after nearly 12 years. "We want action, not merely words and excuses, and demand all roads are cleared and reopened forthwith. We demand future plans are drawn up so all our roads into Ventnor have a future. That includes the Undercliff and Leeson Road. No town should suffer and no council should be left off the hook." Dave said he was disappointed there was no Isle of Wight Council or Ventnor Town Council representatives at the march. Ventnor resident Jim Milburn set up a petition addressed from a very angry Ventnor about the road closures. "The pent-up anger in Ventnor is huge," he stressed. "We need a quick response strategy from the council. They have a quick response for trees. It took them 2 hours to clear one off Leeson Road this week, so why not rocks? If they don't establish a quick response for rocks, then everyone in Ventnor needs to consider whether petitions are useless and that withholding council tax is a better idea while the roads are blocked." Jim said he was delighted more than 1,000 had signed the Rocks Off petition. A County Hall spokesperson said, "We are working closely with Island Roads to remove debris and reopen the roads as soon as possible." Island Roads and the Isle of Wight Council are now progressing the necessary designs and approvals to begin this work on site in the autumn.
Threats ended in terrifying car chase. A stalker threatened and harassed his ex-girlfriend, culminating in a dangerous dual carriageway car chase. Benjamin Ash, 30, of Main Road in Porchfield, appeared before the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Thursday, August the 21st, having previously admitted stalking involving serious alarm or distress. Prosecutor Tim Devlin told the court the couple had first met at a car meet in June 2024, but by July, Ash was already making threats. On one night, he forced his victim to leave her friends at Newport Slug and Lettuce after threatening to come and get her, Mr. Devlin said. The court heard the pair endured daily arguments during their brief relationship, which caused the victim stress, tears and pain. Ash would turn up at her workplace uninvited and checked her phone while she was asleep. The relationship ended in September and the victim blocked him on social media. The victim said, "He knew I was scared of him and he used this against me every day." She described Ash as very short-tempered, adding he had threatened to assault her and made chilling remarks that he would smash her face in or send people to stab her. Mr. Devlin said that on the 1st of January 2025, the pair saw each other again at a car meet, where Ash became angry about being blocked. This encounter led to a 15-minute car chase around Newport, captured on CCTV. The victim was forced to run red lights to escape Ash as he followed her closely during the dual carriageway. He dangerously swerved into her lane, forcing both vehicles to slam on their brakes. Defending, Jonathan Underhill said his client's pre-sentence report suggests Ash has a 24% chance of reoffending, but admitted the report's suggestion of an 18-month community order was lenient. Mr. Underhill said Ash had already served 229 days on remand, equivalent to almost a 16-month sentence. During his time in custody, Ash had been diagnosed with PTSD. Recorder James Bromwich handed Ash a 25-week prison sentence, suspended for 18 months. He must complete 25 rehabilitation days and take part in stalking intervention program. He was handed a 5-year restraining order.
Red Funnel remaining tight-lipped over future. Ferry company Red Funnel is remaining tight-lipped over its future as the date for required new investment looms at the end of this month, September. The ferry firm requires new investment by Tuesday, September the 30th, to ensure financial backing from lenders for at least the next 18 months. When asked to establish the facts surrounding their financial position and an update on investment, Red Funnel declined to clarify its circumstances. A spokesperson for the ferry operator said, "While we are not able to provide details, the investment process continues and is fully focused on ensuring that the company is properly funded to operate sustainably and responsibly for the future." Red Funnel's accounts made up to December the 28th, 24 are due on September the 28th.
5 years of growth and impact. A youth allotment project is celebrating 5 years of growth and community impact. Network Ride marked the anniversary of its youth allotment on Quarry Road with an open afternoon to celebrate the project's success in supporting young people through gardening, sustainability and nature. The event, held on August the 28th, included allotment tours, pond dipping and cakes made from homegrown ingredients. Joe Johnson, Deputy Manager at Network Ride Youth Service, said, "Our allotment is more than just a growing space, it is a place of learning, sharing and well-being for our young people and team. We are incredibly proud of what has been achieved over the past 5 years and to the dedication of our fantastic allotment team, John, Bryony and Gaz, and look forward to seeing it continue to grow as part of our wider community. Thank you to everyone that has made this journey possible." Launched in August 2020, the scheme began during the pandemic when Network Ride identified that many of its young people lacked access to fun outdoor space. Funding from Sovereign Housing Association's Community Grants Programme helped clear the site, transforming it from an overgrown plot into a vibrant, productive space. Now the allotment features raised beds, a greenhouse, a polytunnel, a wormery, a living willow dome and seating area. It offers a hands-on environment for young people to develop practical skills, connect with nature and improve their well-being. The space also promotes biodiversity with wildflower areas, a pond, bird feeders and zones left wild for wildlife. Over 5 years, the allotment has engaged young people at risk of exclusion or antisocial behaviour and offered Duke of Edinburgh's award placements and home education sessions. It has also contributed to the Biosphere festivals and fostered intergenerational connections with other allotment holders who share advice, seeds and plants. Network Ride's youth centre includes an accessible kitchen where young people cook with produce grown on site. Surplus fruit and vegetables are donated to Aspire Ride for use in community lunches. The allotment is part of a Network Ride Town Council youth space service based at the former St Thomas's Church, which supports young people aged 11 to 18 from across the Isle of Wight.
Section 2, Heritage. 100 years ago, in September 1925, the county press was advising readers to buy goods advertised in its columns. No reputable advertiser desires to build his foundations upon the shifting sands of casual custom. He advertises now in order to secure your custom today, your repeat orders tomorrow, and your goodwill for all time, the article read. The mysterious death of a holidaymaker off the beach of Sandown baffled the coroner's court. Wilfred Lampitt, 48, of Worcester, was seen bathing happily until his head went under the water and he didn't surface. He was later recovered in a standing position in 6 foot of water, and the verdict was accidental drowning. 50 years ago, in September 1975, through the generosity of an anonymous donor, the National Trust acquired the Needles Headland. Christine Maskell, 16, of Alfred Street, Ryde, received the honours of being presented with her Queen's Guide badge at the ceremony at Holy Trinity Parish Hall. A British rail carriage on a siding at Ryde St John's Station was badly damaged by fire. 2 Ryde fire crews fought the blaze, which was under control within 15 minutes. It was believed the fire could have been caused by arsonists. A 90-foot, 115-ton trawler became stuck on a mud bank in the River Medina, just off Cowes. After she was finally floated clear, she grounded again en route to Newport.
75 years ago, in September 1950, despite prompt efforts by firemen from Shanklin, a fire at the Queen's Court Hotel Shanklin caused serious damage with 20-foot high flames and smoke. Guests got out unharmed. 3 island pilots took part in the Daily Express International Challenge race from Hampshire to Kent, held to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. 76 competitors followed a 200-mile course. Cowes Aero Club was represented by Captain Randall Ward, and Portsmouth and Cowes Aero Club was represented by Paddy O'Sullivan. 125 years ago, in September 1900, 2 Lincolnshire Regiment lieutenants, R. Cecil and R. Cozier, were each fined £1.06, £1.30, after they were seen cycling furiously down Wootton High Street and over the bridge. The judge believed the pair could have caused a serious accident, either with a child or cart. The memorial stones at Cowes Wesleyan Chapel were laid in a ceremony at the Birmingham Road site. The cost of the construction, the land and the furniture was estimated at £8,000. Life of Brian, a great historian. Believe it or not, it's 5 years since historian Brian Greening died. If we can leave this world a better place when we go, then it's all been worthwhile, and Brian certainly did that. We did a book together once, The Island Life, a compilation of both our White Memories county press articles. Brian set about selling them to all his mates, and he must have known everybody in Newport. He would walk into town from his home in Albury Road, taking a handful of copies with him, and sell the lot every time. Here are some of Brian's finest moments from his county press articles. Shopping and life in general today has become so impersonal. Phone up your gas or electricity supplier to query your bill, and you're asked to choose from 8 options. You can be kept waiting for ages. Always make sure you have a razor handy, as by the time they do answer, we men will need a shave, and you ladies will have time to sandpaper your legs. Try to buy something with a credit card, and they will need to know your name, address, postcode, the type of card, the expiry date, the secret 3 numbers on the back, and recently I was asked for my inside leg measurement. I admit though, I got that number out of a telephone box. I wouldn't have minded, but all I was buying was a second-hand copy of Lady Chatterley's Lover. The highlight of the football calendar was the match between Chillerton and Whitecroft. One of the star players for the Asylum team was the Vicar of Gatcombe, the Reverend Wyatt, who was quite skillful and fast. Thus it fell to Harold Jerrett, a Chillerton man, to mark the Reverend. With the methods adopted by Harold, he might have had trouble later entering the pearly gates. Harold was a son of the soil, and told me how in his youth he asked a young nurse from Whitecroft out, and they embarked on a walk over the downs. His plan was to eventually take her to the bus shelter at Gascombe. When they reached there, she declined with the words, "My mother said if I was ever to go out with a boy, I was to keep walking."
I was asked recently to wait for assistance as I tried to purchase my single bottle of beer because the machine didn't know whether I was 17 or 79. When the assistant arrived, she asked for identification. In none of the old shops was I reduced to telling a piece of metal to off. Bleep off. As we get older, we look back with fondness to the days of our youth. Were they better times? Well, apart from typhoid and rickets and having an outside loo, I can only put forth my own opinion. An emphatic yes. Each Friday in the early 1950s, the school secretary at Barton Road School would go around to each class and hand the teachers their weekly pay packet. On one occasion, one of the boys asked the teacher what was in the envelope. "That is my wages, boy," came the reply. After a suitable pause, the boy inquired further, "Where do you work then, sir?" Each Newport cinema had a commissionaire. At the Grand was Jock Harper, an ex-army man, always resplendent in his maroon uniform, but it must be said, often minus his false teeth. Our love of the silver screen knew no bounds, and when the film David and Bathsheba came to town, we little boys went crazy, as the heroine was seen to take a bath in ass's milk, with a large cleavage clearly visible. Another advantage the Medina had was that it was directly opposite Jolliffe's shop, so after the film you could cross the road for one of their legendary peppery meat pies. I miss Brian's articles and I miss his phone calls. The phone would ring, I would pick it up, and without fail Brian would deliver his customary one-word greeting, "Greening," in a military voice. He would then hold court for 15 minutes, invariably on the subject of modern life, and the government, accompanied by humorous remarks not suitable for a family newspaper. And when he felt he said he'd had enough, Brian had the disarming but amusing habit of just hanging up without warning. Comic and raconteur, underneath it all he was a sensitive man and never grumpy. He is still missed. Thanks for all the laughs, Brian.
And now we have My View. Vector's View, Reflections on Ireland Life by Viv Lothian, the local teacher and Green Party spokesman for lifelong learning. The leaves are falling, it's back to school, and fittingly the supermarket aisles are now stacked with Haribo for Halloween and wine for the teachers. I love this time of year when the exercise books are still fresh, the pupils are relatively keen to be here, and everyone has a view about how best to run a school or a county education system. Whilst our island's social media is engrossed with access to toilets during school time and arguments about whether Squid Game style exploits will improve punctuality to lessons, reporters sharpened their keyboards as the exam results came in. Our A-level grades, worst in the country. GCSE grades, ditto. You can almost set your clock every August as the island doesn't just slump but remains tightly stuck at the bottom of the national rankings. I appreciate that it may be news for some, but many school staff like me are very well aware that the results are just not good enough. Again, the years of target setting, extra classes, constant exam practice, tearing hair out, and we are still bottom. Huge sigh. Head desk reaches for more Haribo. As a parent, teacher and local councillor, I have high aspirations for our island young people. I love my job. Education achievements will open doors, widen horizons and set them up for a more prosperous life. So, why does it feel like we are stuck in a rut? How can we explain the predictable low results? And what can islanders do as a whole to raise them up? This is going to be difficult reading. On every indicator affecting our children outside of the classroom, the island is facing an enormous challenge. We are not bottom of the class when it comes to levels of child poverty, 37%, well above average, or numbers reliant on free school meals, risen by 63% between 2019 and 2023. We are top of the league when it comes to numbers of pupils with special educational needs, 24.7%, the highest in England. Percentage of workless households, 25%, and earlier this year, Isle of Wight East was granted the accolade of being the second most left behind constituency in all England. Report after report shows that our wages are endemically low. The proportion of islanders with a university degree is low, and hospital admissions for 10 to 24-year-olds as a result of self-harm is the highest in the southeast. Admittedly, other areas have overcome similar challenges. Results in London were poor, but increased pupil funding and demographic shifts have resulted in significant progress in recent years. The educational inequality gap is felt even more deeply here, as statistically white British pupils, 97% on the island, perform worse at school than those from every other ethnic majority background. On top of this, our young islanders don't have such ready access to theatres, museums and businesses as they do in big cities to widen their horizons and show them opportunities to aim for. The cost of crossing the Solent is a barrier to aspiration for too many of my students. No other English county has to deal with these ferry companies. When I stood in my classroom this week and welcomed all my students back, I was frank and told them about the reality they face. And when it comes to exams, they are in competition with their mainland peers. I hope I continue to instill in them the belief that they, with hard work and guidance from determined school staff, can reach their full potential. But even before an island child sets foot in a classroom, there are obstacles to success. It's all our job to do better. not just the staff in our schools.
And opinion. Clearly something is very wrong with our schools, by Imogen Tew. When people ask me what it is or what it was like to grow up on the Isle of Wight, my reviews are always glowing. I talk about long days at Compton Beach with cousins as a child, riding around Southern Vectis buses as a teenager, and watching the sunsets on Gurnard Green with some questionable alcohol choices. Growing up here was so wonderful that when I found out I was pregnant with my first child around 2 years ago, moving back home was a no-brainer. I'm already reaping the benefits. My son loves the water. We spend as much time as we can on the beach, and it's been special to relive our childhood memories at Robin Hill and Blackgang Chine through his eyes. But there is one part of raising a family here that doesn't fill me with wonderful nostalgia. In fact, I'm dreading it. This year's exam results place the Isle of Wight firmly at the bottom of the country's rankings. Some 57.9% of GCSE results were at level 4, the equivalent of an old C, as down from 59.5% last year and the worst in the country, according to Ofqual, the official regulator for exams. It doesn't get any better at sixth form either. Just 18% of grades were an A or an A star, the lowest in the country, and a significant drop-off on the national average of 28.3%. From memory, my schooling was hit and miss. I imagine most people had similar experiences. Some teachers were inspiring and wonderful and made you want to learn, and others would throw a textbook down on the desk and call it a job well done. There were certainly some issues. I think much of my GCSE years were spent in temporary classrooms, which turned out not to be so temporary. But in general, I wouldn't say my education was worse in the country, terrible. And while the schools weren't number one on the list of my reasons to raise a family here, the future education of my kids wasn't sending alarm bells either. But clearly, something is very, very wrong. Island schools have faced an uphill struggle for at least a decade with constant disruption, some of the council's fault, some of their hands, and a brain drain of young, vibrant teachers. Just as the schools were recovering from a 3-tier and 2-tier shift, the pandemic meant that schools were thrust into a role they were completely and rightfully unprepared for. And now, as the dust settles, post-COVID, and we deal instead with the falling birth rate and the need to close schools, we need a proper plan for improvement. People with more knowledge and experience than me will have ideas of a way forward, and those in charge need to mark it as a priority. The island is many things to many people: a sailing hub, a geographical marvel, a red squirrel haven, but at its heart is a place for young families to live a great life. If schools and results don't improve, we risk losing this completely.
Some public information now. Modern policing has changed so much, writes Superintendent Rob Mitchell from the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary. In a previous column, I spoke about our summer plans for policing the Isle of Wight, and in particular I mentioned our commitment to the Neighbourhood Policing Guarantee. Upon reflection, one might wonder why the police need to have a guarantee to the public that they will be visible and be patrolling identified hotspots for crime and antisocial behaviour, as well as renewing commitments to engagement. Surely this is what our core business should be: tackling crime and keeping the peace. This is where modern policing has changed so much over several generations. Yes, tackling crime through prevention and investigation is still a core function, as well as protecting life and property. However, most police activity is now non-crime related, as much as 83% according to some studies and a recent College of Policing report. So why is this the case? In the last 12 months, we have responded to 13,653 reported incidents on the Isle of Wight, a 21% increase on the previous year. Within that number, the majority were non-crime incidents such as missing person inquiries. Some are recorded as low risk and require minimal inquiries to resolve. Others are deemed high risk and become rapid, time and resource intensive investigations to prevent serious harm coming to vulnerable persons. Many other incidents might involve concern for welfare checks. We are frequently tasked with supporting people in mental health crises, at times spending several hours with someone to ensure the correct agency can provide support whilst preventing any harm occurring to them. We also respond to accidents or incidents in public, affecting public safety, where police are required to secure scenes for safety and to preserve evidence, including serious accidents at work, on the roads or elsewhere. I mention the range of incidents that our police officers and staff attend every day, as all of them are matters that require a response. Not all will involve officers being visibly present in public places and responding to other more obvious incidents in the numbers that reflect our full capacity. We must prioritise our available resources for those incidents carrying the most risk of harm. We also have officers in dedicated teams that manage certain offenders within the community, and uninformed officers who are taken away from routine patrols to deal with sudden emergencies. So, on reflection, it is vital that we create plans to deliver resources for local community priorities and core policing functions such as patrols and responding to community concerns such as antisocial behaviour, ensuring that it is not always a case of the squeaky wheel getting the oil.
New surgery dates confirmed for constituents by Richard Quigley, MP for Isle of Wight West. Summer recess was exactly what I needed, not because it was long break, although I did enjoy a week off with my family, but because it gave me valuable time to focus on the constituency. As an Island MP, I usually spend Monday to Thursday in Westminster, so when Parliament isn't sitting during recess, it gives me a valuable opportunity to spend even more time in the constituency, engaging directly with local issues and residents. One of the ways I'm able to do that is by holding regular in-person surgeries. Of course, people phone or email in, but it's important constituents can speak directly with their MP. So I'm pleased to confirm dates for autumn-winter surgeries already. If you'd like to request an appointment, please call the office on 01983 244 980 with your preferred date. September the 19th is a waiting list only. October the 3rd. November the 14th. December the 5th. Surgery appointments are typically 15 minutes and give constituents an opportunity to raise or discuss a particular issue. Usually, most people have had contact with my dedicated caseworker, whose job is to support constituents when they most need it. In recent months, we've been able to support constituents with a number of historic issues and close cases which have been ongoing for some years. For example, we've contacted the DWP over a constituent's pension, which is now being paid correctly. HMRC over tax issues offer no response, supported on various school matters, particularly SEN-related concerns, and help one constituent get his life savings back after an offline sale went wrong. Sadly, I've also seen an increase in the number of people contacting me over domestic abuse, with constituents unsure of who to turn to. But it's also important to recognise they felt able to seek help, and my team and I want to be sure we're able to give those who are brave enough to come forward the right information. So I want to say thank you to Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary for organising a specific briefing for us over the summer recess. My team and I found it really useful to hear from specialist officers, and it was good to develop that rapport with local officers. While the headlines are often dominated by negative stories, I was truly heartened to see our community rally around the Daisy bus and the incredible efforts of people like Michelle Newton. Faced with a funding cut, local residents came together, donating time, money and expertise to keep this vital service running. So I'm really pleased that a CIC, that's Community Interest Company, is now being set up. And as an MP, I remain committed to doing everything I can to support the service.
And now we have What's On. Writers' Day returns for budding authors. A day of writing workshops, talks and panels will be held next month. Writers' Day 2025 at Carisbrooke Priory on Saturday, October the 4th will see island writers share their processes and stories from a range of genres. A programme of events ranging from the shape of writing to writing for well-being to artificial intelligence will be put on throughout the day. Writers Catherine Rosati and Stephen Oakes Monger will share their success stories to round off the day. Attendees are encouraged to bring along a short extract of their own writing to read. One of the organising team, John G. Owen of Naked Fig Leaf Press, said, "This will be such an exciting day with the chance to talk to other writers, compare notes and ideas and discuss ways forward for your work. A day of real inspiration you won't want to miss. The day costs £25 with bookings required by Sunday, September the 28th. The Priory's Cafe will be open for tea and coffee throughout the event, and guests can bring their own lunch and benefit from free parking. For information and to book, go to https://writersday2025.event-brite, which is brite.com.
Don't miss out on hot drink for £1. The County Press has teamed up with one of the island's best-loved independent coffee and sandwich shop chains to offer readers a great deal on drinks again. French Franks, which had 4 island branches, is offering hot drinks for £1 on presentation of the coupon on page 51 today. From today, Friday, until the end of Thursday, September the 18th, anyone taking our voucher into a French Frank shop can buy a quality Illy coffee or any other hot drink for just £1. County Press editor Laurie Little said, "We have run this offer many times before, and it is one of our most popular. We are delighted to work with French Franks to bring it back for our readers." Our office at the Innovation Centre is directly opposite the French Franks on St Cross Business Park, and our staff enjoy a French Franks coffee or lunch on a regular basis, so it is exciting to encourage more people to spend with this local business. Customers must take the voucher with them and hand it over when paying. 1 drink per voucher, valid at any French Franks outlet.
Ballyrags to stage first panto. A comedy club has unveiled plans to stage its first pantomime. Ballyrags Comedy Club will perform Treasure Island at Key Arts Newport from November the 27th to November the 30th. A cast of comical characters is to appear, with the island's well-known drag queen Proud Mary taking on the role of Dame Hawkins and Baron Fortitude playing Ben Gunn. Other roles include the dastardly villain Long John Silver, the courageous young hero Jim Hawkins, the no-nonsense sea captain Kate Smollett, local policeman P.C. Verald, the storytelling pirate Pete, the pantomime parrot Captain Flint, as well as a lively crew of pirates, chorus members and comedic cameos. The production will encourage improvisations and welcomes seasoned stage performers and newcomers eager to make audiences laugh. The pantomime will feature new songs, comedy, lively performances and Ballyrag's charm. For further information and audition inquiries, visit ballyrags.com or email shout@ballyrags.com. Tickets can be purchased at Key Arts, and the upcoming pantomime production marks a significant milestone for the Ballyrags Comedy Club.
Fairport Convention at Medina. British folk rockers Fairport Convention are set to perform on the Isle of Wight. They will be playing at the Medina Theatre in Newport on October the 25th. Known for their pioneering blend of traditional and electric instruments, Fairport Convention's visit is part of their Autumn 25 UK tour. Almost 60 years after they were first seen at the Isle of Wight Festival in 1968, the group is expected to perform new and old favourites. They have received a BBC Lifetime Achievement Award. Their album Liege and Leaf was voted by Radio 2 listeners as the most influential folk album of all time. Their song Who Knows Where the Time Goes was awarded Favourite Folk Track of All Time at the BBC Radio 2 Folk Awards. Fans can look forward to a blend of nostalgia and musical diversity at the Medina Theatre.
More than 70 walks for the festival. Mindfulness walks, tree identification and litter picking are just some of the experiences on offer next month. They are part of the Isle of Wight Autumn Walking Festival, taking place from October the 4th to October the 12th, and offering a packed programme of more than 70 walks. The walks explore the Isle of Wight's nature, history and culture, with something for all ages and interests. Amy Summers, Head of Marketing and Sustainability at Visit Isle of Wight, said, "Due to high demand, we've added 15 more walks to the programme, giving visitors even more choice. So far, we have over 850 registered walkers, with 74% joining us from the mainland and overseas. I'm hugely grateful to our volunteers whose passion for the island helps create these inspiring walks and highlights why the Isle of Wight is one of the UK's top walking destinations." The festival is organised by Visit Isle of Wight and supported by the Wight Bid. Many walks are free to join, but booking is essential. Highlights include the National Trust Wellbeing Walk at Newtown National Nature Reserve on October the 4th. This 1.5 mile stroll focuses on mindfulness, meditation and sensory moments in nature. A 4-mile history trail in Ventnor on October the 7th offers the chance to step back in time and imagine the scene as Spanish galleons passed by in 1588. Tree enthusiasts can join the expert-led Tree ID for absolute neophytes walk on October the 5th. This gentle guided stroll introduces walkers to British trees along a 1.5 mile route. And October the 11th, a 3-mile litter pick walk in Sandown combines environmental action with coastal scenery. The route begins at the train station, passes through Los Altos Country Park and ends at Sandown Bay. For more information or to reserve a spot, visit isleofwightwalkingfestival.com. thetheatre.co.uk. For those who prefer self-guided walks, visitors can collect a guide from Brading Roman Villa for a 2-mile circular walk around the historic site. The Isle of Wight Walking Festival website offers details of the full programme, discounted cross-Solent travel, accommodation and food and drink specials. With places filling up quickly, organisers are encouraging walkers to book early.
On Tuesday, the 23rd of September, the Isle of Wight Arts Society lecture is at 2 p.m. The architecture of Mughal India palaces, mosques, gardens and museums by Dr. John Stevens at Northwood House, Ward Avenue, Cowes, Isle of Wight. On Wednesday the 17th of September, the Abbey Brass in concert is at 7:30 p.m. The Abbey Brass performs music for all tastes. Wootton Bridge, Methodist Church, Station Road, Wootton Bridge. You can contact the band manager, all lowercase here, the band manager at abbeybrass-Isle of Wight, that's IOW.com. A phone number 07863 390683.
Various events are happening at the Medina Theatre, starting with Frankie's Guys, which is a tribute to Frankie Valli. That's on Saturday, September the 20th. We have the Ultimate Commitment and Blues Brothers Experience, which is Friday 26th of September 2025. The early bird tickets are on sale for the pantomime Beauty and the Beast, which runs from the 20th to the 30th of December 25, and the grown-ups only version of Beauty and the Beast, which is the 27th to the 30th of December 2025. Stuart Michael, the psychic medium, is appearing at Medina on Saturday the 27th of September. The Bootleg Shadows, a tribute to the Shadows, is on Sunday the 28th of September 25. Abomania is Saturday 4th of October 25. And lastly but not least, the George Harrison Project is on Saturday the 11th of October. So all of this is at the Medina Theatre, and you can call them on 01983 823 884 or go to www.medinatheatre.co.uk.
I would spend the money differently. Dear Editor, I'd like to comment on the letter from G. Clark in last week's Soapbox asking about the correlation between illegal immigration and the decline of our public services, suggesting there was no relevance. It costs £108 million to support these people for 1 month. That's a huge amount of money and would make a massive difference to our services if it was spent that way instead. By Donna Arnold in East Cowes.
We are still seeking closure from a name and address supplied anonymous person here. We have, Dear Editor, our entire family thanks your team for the positive influence that many Isle of Wight Observer newspaper articles have had over the last 3 months in our continuing struggles with the failing Island Coroner Service. As we seek closure and hopefully some healing after a gruelling 124-week wait for answers. The Isle of Wight Council has yet to take any accountability for how they spend our council tax on an essential coroner service that continues not to be fit for purpose. At the time of writing, now in month 28, we still await a death certificate which could and should have been issued 2 years ago. Urgent change is needed.
An open letter to my MP. Dear Mr. Quigley, I could not believe this week's news that 890 peaceful citizens were arrested while protesting against the genocide in Gaza. Many of those arrested were elderly and disabled like myself, yet faced the possibility of a criminal conviction with a maximum penalty of 14 years in prison. While some protesters a few times had committed criminal damage, they should have been dealt with under the criminal law without declaring any organisation in such a principled cause to be terrorists. They are not armed. They have not killed anyone. It sickened me to hear Yvette Cooper saying they were terrorists, obviously to further her own political cause. I was an erstwhile Labour supporter, but no more. I never in my wildest nightmares dreamt that Labour would behave like an autocratic neo-fascist state towards its citizens. The party has given tacit support to the systemic destruction of a people by supplying weaponry to the perpetrators, abstained from a UN vote incriminating those who starved children to death and engaged in total destruction, including hospitals and schools, ignoring the pleas of most foreign nations. I would be grateful if you would please give an explicit answer to the following two questions. Was there a free vote in Parliament declaring Palestine Action to be a terrorist organisation, or was it by the Prime Minister's decree? How did you vote on behalf of your constituents? By Alan Brett in Newport.
Hans Bromwich from Cowes writes, a second warmongering Labour leader? Dear editor, in July, Keir Starmer said the UK would formally recognise the State of Palestine before the United Nations General Assembly meeting on September the 9th. If Israel hadn't agreed to a ceasefire and committed to a two-state solution in the Middle East. It hasn't. Indeed, Israel's genocidal rampage in Gaza has intensified with the weaponisation of famine and the dropping of incendiary bombs on the tents of displaced Palestinians, bringing new levels of terror and indiscriminate killing. XL London hosted the DSCI Arms Fair this week, welcoming 51 Israeli arms and defence manufacturers showcased in a smorgasbord of weaponry, battlefield tested on defenceless babies and children. Tony Blair, instead of serving time for taking Britain into an illegal war that killed hundreds of thousands, surfaced from his Metropolitan Police protected lair and visited Donald Trump to discuss how to monetize Gaza by rebuilding it as a Riviera playground and high-tech hub. Philanthropist or dishonourable opportunist? Why hasn't Keir Starmer kept his word and recognised the State of Palestine? Why is he supporting Israel rather than listening to most British people who are screaming that what is happening in Gaza is an abomination? It's much easier to criminalise elderly protesters using what many believe is a highly selective interpretation of terrorism legalisation, designed to quash dissent while continuing the profitable sideline of supplying the technologies needed to commit war crimes on defenceless civilians. Now that's terrorism, Prime Minister. Having been led by one Labour warmonger, Tony Blair is bad enough, but to harbour another in Keir Starmer is a national disgrace. It's why, in the eyes of many, Labour is finished.
Gift to the Nation by David Pugh in Ryde. I have been following with great interest the deliberations about the King Charles III English Coast Path, and in particular the remaining section on the island still to be finalised, East Cowes to Wootton Bridge. The Isle of Wight Ramblers, backed by their national organisation, continue to do a tremendous job in highlighting the unacceptability of the current proposals. As they have rightly pointed out, the Osborne estate was bequeathed as a gift to the nation by Edward VII in 1902. For English heritage to now adopt a stance which is so contrary to the public interest is undoubtedly a betrayal of the spirit of this gift. There is no plausible reason why a workable solution cannot be found, allowing us to have a truly coastal path on this scenic section of the route. It is therefore important that we all submit representations to Natural England by October the 22nd. However, this may not be enough. We also need to make direct representations to those making and influencing the eventual decision, the politicians. After all, it will be the Secretary of State at the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, the newly appointed Emma Reynolds MP, who will decide whether to approve these proposals. It is entirely within the discretion of the Secretary of State, to whom Natural England is accountable, to reject these proposals and ask for the coastal alternative to be revisited. Which brings me to another government-related angle, the role of English heritage. For the past decade, what is now officially known as the English Heritage Trust has been responsible for managing the National Heritage Collection, including Osborne House. At the time, in 2015, the government gave £80 million of taxpayers' money to the trust to get it started. Its very existence, with a custodian role in looking after national assets like Osborne for the benefit of future generations, means it should not act in a manner so manifestly contrary to the public interest. It is worth noting that English Heritage looks after these assets under a licence from Historic England, with the latter also appointing trustees to its board. In turn, Historic England is accountable to the Secretary of State at the Department for Culture, Media and Sports, DCMS. Lisa Nandy MP, she should require Historic England, and by extension English Heritage, to urgently look again at this issue. Furthermore, if English Heritage refuses to cooperate, even after any intervention from DCMS via Historic England, the government should review the provision that gives registered parks and gardens an exemption from offering coastal access, and if necessary, amend.
Strength of feeling, name and address supplied. Last week I was invited to take part in the demonstration regarding the failure of both Ilam Roads and the Isle of Wight Council to address road closures and landslide problems in Ventnor and Bonchurch. The large number of people that took part in the rally highlighted the strength of feeling felt. Judging by comments, both the council and Ilam Roads are not held in very high esteem. Most of us can see through the excuses given for procrastination. No money, health and safety, etc., all hogwash. The council has a record of wasting money, floating bridge, etc. One can see examples every week in the county press. Leeson Road, Undercliff Drive, various roads in Ventnor. What an appalling record. Highly qualified civil engineers, landslip experts, etc., have all produced remedies, but for some reason they have been ignored in favour of preferred consultancy. But if nothing is done, Ventnor will not sit back but take the next step to embarrass the authors of this failure. Ilam Roads, get your act together and stop procrastinating. Isle of Wight Council, wake up, and if you've wasted your finances, then approach this lame government of ours for special funding. And that's goodbye from Jerry.
And goodbye from Val. See you next time.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Well, it's hello from me and hello from them.
Oh, hi, Annie.
Hello,
Leslie. Thank you so much for coming to take me out.
Oh, it's so lovely
That's
to meet you.
fantastic. And you too.
It's raining.
It's raining. No, surely not.
I believe that you want to go to Grasmere.
Yes,
Is that right?
please. Do you think we could do the walk by the river as well,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
And I'd love to look around the gift shops quite a bit.
Okay, so there's quite a few gift shops.
And thank you.
Oh, looking forward to it.
I wouldn't be able to do this without you, baby.
Oh, no, it'll be brilliant.
I've always thought holidays were problematic when you're blind. Of course, we all want a break and a change of scene just like anybody else. But so much of coping comfortably with blindness is about creating your own familiar environment, whereas holidays, by definition, are all about the unfamiliar. That's the point. Which is why this idea of having your own dedicated guide on holiday is so potentially appealing, especially if you're in a situation where you have to take your break on your own. Later, we'll be meeting the two people who came up with this idea. But first, let's meet volunteer guide Leslie Postlethwaite and visually impaired holiday maker Ellie Bennett, pottering around a picturesque village in the Lake District.
On the left, you've got a little gift shop called the Grasmere Weavers. Oh. And there's a rather large concrete sheep outside. Do you want to go in?
Yes, please.
First one.
Sheep.
So we're going to pat it on the head.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, you were at the back end of the sheep, Peter.
Typical.
So we're just about to go inside.
Nice.
Oh, well, down there, you found the squashiest little cow.
Is there a cow? All right. Have you got any sheep down here like that?
Oh, that is the most gorgeous little sheep.
Oh, that is amazing.
So that's like a little bally black
Oh,
nose.
isn't he gorgeous? Oh. Peter, do you want to have a look at this sheep?
Oh, go on, Nick.
She even talks to me. I wanted to go to the Lake District because I'd had an email from Windermere Manor Hotel, and I thought, oh, what a nice idea, because we spend a lot of time in the Lake District.
There's a personal reason why you want to come.
Very personal, because my husband died 3 years ago, and there was a walk I wanted to do especially down to the lake, because we used to like to do that walk. So I rung up Windermere Manor, and they told me about this volunteer scheme. There's no way I'd do a holiday on my own without this scheme. I wouldn't even stay at Windermere Manor on my own because, you know, you want to get out, you don't want to stay up in your room all day. And my mobility is fine in my local area, but I'm out of my comfort zone here, totally. This has been opening a huge door for me. Oh, it's just gorgeous walking around here.
In the rain?
No, it's lovely. It's so Grasmere-y. It just speaks to me.
Good. No, it's a beautiful place. So, can you smell it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a whiff. Get a whiff of that gingerbread.
So it's the most gorgeous little cottage. It's got a little green gate and the signs about Grasmere gingerbread. And then when we get inside, the ladies have their traditional dress on with the little mob caps.
That's cool.
And it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, that's really nice, isn't it?
That's going to be £5.20 together.
Okay, who makes the gingerbread?
We've got bakers just
now. Oh, lovely. Might well come back on our way by again, you never know.
Well, we thought it was time we sheltered from the rain and actually came inside and got some coffees, but it's a good opportunity to talk to Leslie and Ellie a little more. Leslie, what interests me is how you got involved in this in the first place.
I lost family members and I wanted to be able to care for people, and what appealed to me with this is I love being outdoors, so if I can share that being outdoors with somebody was what fascinated me.
Was that what you were expecting, that most of the people you got would maybe like to, you know, harumph up hills and that sort of thing?
At some point I would like to be able to take somebody, you know, up a hill and describe the view to them. But actually, it's just so nice to be outside describing what you're seeing, whether it's on the way past shops, coffee houses, up hills or anywhere really.
What actually is the process? Because presumably there are various hoops to go through before you actually guide someone.
I had to have compulsory training. It was quite interesting because the person who set up the business is blind herself. So my first experience was actually leading them across the hotel room. And then we got paired up, were blindfolded, and we were given tasks to do. It was very useful training, very good.
I'm interested in that whole thing about guiding because, of course, blind people, we're not all the same as each other. We don't all want to be guided the same way. Was that conveyed to you? Because sometimes people are inclined to say there's a book of rules and that's what you abide by.
To a degree, we have been given the rules, but for me, I would want to know about the person anyway, whether they're happy to be led from either side, and whether they want you to talk all the time about the scenery or they don't. So it's a matter of getting to know each person.
Well, it's quite interesting because you two only met a couple of hours ago. You seem to have got on with each other very quickly.
Well, we had a good natter on the phone at first, didn't we? And, it was good. I just felt, we're going to get on fine because we laugh. If you can laugh, you're good. The information I have been given from both Leslie today and the couple that took me out yesterday has been really, really useful. So, it's great.
And tell me a bit about yesterday, because that was quite different to this and very specific, wasn't it? What did you do?
Well, I went, first of all, for a walk from the hotel down to the lake. And my husband and I used to like to do that walk, so I really wanted to do that. And then we went to a farm and there was all these goats, and I love goats. So I had a wonderful time stroking the goats. And then we met an alpaca as well, and that was interesting because the fur on an alpaca is like a carpet. It's unbelievable, it's so soft compared to the kind of wiriness of the goats.
And I guess that's just the kind of thing that, had you been on your own, you just wouldn't have known was available, basically.
No way. I mean, even going around the shops. If I go around shops locally, I need to know what I want. I can't just browse very easily. Especially these days, I might think I'm nicking stuff.
OK, we'll leave you in peace, but thank you both very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much for coming around with us. It's been nice.
So that's what happened when Leslie met Ellie. But where did this idea come from? Well, it's no coincidence that the two schemes currently operating are based in Devon and the Lake District, where two hotels, one in Windermere, one in Teignmouth, formerly catered specifically for blind and partially sighted visitors. This is no longer the case, but two people, Julian Griffin in Devon and Lee Hodgson in the Lakes, have carried elements of this on. And they join me now. Julian, first of all, just explain a bit more about how the idea for your service, the Clifton Buddies, came about, because it is kind of connected with the hotels, isn't it?
Very much so. I, very much like Ellie from your piece, I was wanting to go on holiday independently without having to rely on sighted members of my family or friends. So I was waiting for something to happen. I just thought, someone's going to organise this. And in about 2023, I thought, well, if you want this done, you're going to have to come up with some idea yourself. And I've got no experience of charity work or anything like that. For selfish reasons, I thought, well, how am I going to create something that will provide sighted guide help? So I just took to social media, really, in the Teignmouth area, and was astounded by the response I had from local people who really wanted to get involved.
So there were a lot of other people waiting for somebody to do something then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, friends, people I know within the visually impaired community were in the same boat. And, I mean, you can go to the most accessible hotel in the world, but if you can't get out and about, on your own, it's like being in the Big Brother house, isn't it? You're stuck there.
So are the hotels still involved in any way? Because you mentioned the hotels and Ellie was staying at the Windermere Manor.
Well, that's it. I mean, I stay at the Clifton Hotel in Teignmouth and also the Windermere Manor because of my familiarity with the hotels. But now that the hotels are mainstream, they don't provide that service. And, of course, why should they?
And Lee, you're up in the Lake District, so how did Cumbrian Visions come about?
I saw what Julian was doing down in Devon, as I used to go down to Clifton myself, and I'm nearer to Windermere, and I thought, I'm going to go up to Windermere and see what it's like. So my wife Jess and I went up there. It's a lovely hotel, but you can't do anything outside the hotel. There's pavementless roads, there's a lot of things you just aren't safe to do. And I thought, if Julian can do this down there, could I do this up here? There were volunteers who used to be involved with the scheme ran by Guide Dogs and Action for Blind People after that, who still wanted to do it, but they were worried about insurance and support. And so I started to look into it with the help of the CVS in the area, Community Voluntary Service, which scared me silly when I saw what was involved. Getting liability insurance, for example, so that everyone feels protected. Doing the DBS checks, because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, visually impaired people are counted as vulnerable adults. So we had to set all that up come up with a name for the organisation and become a voluntary organisation, non-profit making. So it's had hoops, but we've got through them.
Right. Now, presumably there's no reason why this couldn't be done anywhere. Are there plans at all, Jules, to go national with this?
I think what I would love to see is similar setups that are created and coordinated by visually impaired people for the benefit of visually impaired people. And the first place I would think of is Weston-super-Mare, because there is another hotel that used to be owned and run by the charities for visually impaired. And if somebody could create a similar scheme there to support the many visually impaired people who still visit Weston because of, the familiarity of the hotel there, Lauriston, I think that would be a great first step.
Now, there's one thing I just want to ask you both. Quite obviously, Leslie and Ellie hit it off straight away, and they really did. I saw it happen. But to what extent are you able to match people up, for temperament and interests and so on? And to what extent is it a bit of a lottery? Can I start with Lee on that one?
When we get the volunteers involved, we ask them what they like and don't like doing. And obviously we're not going to make someone go shopping if they hate shopping. And we're not going to make someone do mile walks if they hate walking. So we learn about the volunteer. And then when we have someone approach us for the guiding assistance, we actually ask them a little bit about themselves. Have they got a guide dog and so on? And we match them up as closely as we can. Obviously it's not foolproof, but we do our best.
No, we talked about this with Ellie and Leslie. You can imagine if you got the wrong person, you could drive each other mad.
Yeah.
Jules, people might think it's a bit odd doing this piece in September with summer almost gone, but I gather it's not that odd, is it?
It's not odd at all. I mean, we get requests for voluntary help, mostly during the autumn, winter and spring, because it's a lot cheaper to travel.
And maybe not so crowded as well, which might help.
Very much so. I think my quietest times in the 2 years that I've been doing this have been sort of July, August time.
And just finally, Lee, do you think this could take off as a national thing? Because, I think we've illustrated how well it can work, but could it go national?
Like Julian said, I think if people were to take it on board and take it all over the country, I think it would be a real asset. But it's having the confidence and know how to do it. I mean, I'd quite happily help anybody to launch themselves, definitely.
Well, there's a blueprint there, so let's see if other people pick up the challenge. Julian Griffin, Lee Hodgson, thank you both very much. And that's it for today, but we'd love to hear your holiday ideas and experiences. Would that scheme appeal to you? You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Scaffolding and skip news. 12th of September 2025. The Newport area. 1 to 8 Malthouse Court. 121 St James Street. O2 Shop, Holyrood Street.
Ryde area. St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street. Ex-Barclays Bank, 7 High Street. Arcadia, 10 to 12 Esplanade. Ryde Opticians in Union Street. 7 South Street. 9 South Street. The Heron in Union Street. The Sloop at Wootton. 5 High Street, Bembridge. And 57 to 59 High Street, Bembridge. And Ryde area skips 26 Quarry Road.
The Cowes area. 93 and 94 High Street. The Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard. 35 Cross Street.
Sandown area, the Old Comical, St John's Road.
Yarmouth area, Bank House.
Shanklin area, Nationwide, Regent Street, and Shanklin Conservative Club, 6 Palmerston Road.
The Ventnor area, Old Town Hall Court, Albert Street, 17 Church Street.